Hey everybody, I want to take a few minutes today and talk about strategy, and specifically, in my opinion, in my experience, strategy is about the things you don't do, more so than it's about the things you do, and I'll explain what I mean by that. We've all been to these offsites where you go off for a few days, you're staying in a hotel somewhere with the leadership team, and you're coming up with all these great things that you want to do and that you want to, goals you want to achieve for the company in the following year. And then you break those down into individual tasks at the tactical level, and we say, okay, we're going to go do these things. Okay, great. And then you get back to the job on Monday, and guess what? It's the real world, right? You're not at that safe offsite anymore where you can shield yourself from all the operational issues, all the potential, customer concerns that need to be addressed, the employee concerns maybe that may be coming up and other things. And what happens is, or the new RFP that comes out and the paper that hits the street and everybody's reacting and now pivoting towards something else, right? So the reality of it is, while you may have had good intentions when you were at the offsite and you outlined the priorities and what things you wanted to do, but when you get back to the job on Monday, all that stuff kind of gets thrown out the window, right? And a lot of that strategic kind of view of things wanes very quickly, and what takes hold is panic and maybe we won't hit our numbers this year, so we better go after this other proposal, even though we had said that we were going to go after this customer and this kind of mission area. We end up doing other things in addition to that. Why? Because we get desperate and we get scared, right? And we become opportunistic, and because we become reactive, right? So this is why articulating the things that you are not going to do are more important than the things you are going to do. And then obviously you got to stick to that strategy. It's not enough to just say, hey, here's a line in the sand, and here's all the stuff we're not going to do. You actually have to do it, right? And therein lies a real test of leadership. But by doing that and by articulating exactly all the things that you don't plan to do and that you will absolutely not do, it creates space for you to actually implement the strategic ideas that you and your team set out to do in the first place. And by the way, leadership has to hold each other accountable, right? And that's the deal, is that if you say we're not going to go after this and we're not going to do this kind of stuff because we want to focus right here on these solutions and these customers and these missions, you got to hold each other accountable, because when one domino falls, they all fall. So if we make an exception on this one thing, guess what? We're going to make an exception more than likely on all of it eventually. And then we will all look at each other at the end of the year and say, why weren't we able to implement all these great strategic ideas that we had at the last offsite? And everybody will just kind of look at each other and kind of, bow their heads and shrug their shoulders and maybe blame somebody else in their minds. The reality of it is you're all accountable, because you didn't articulate the things you were not going to do. And I don't mean just mention them. I'm talking about write them down, create a list of things that you refuse to do in the following year in order to stay on strategy. You've got to think about the future and the entire team. So as a leader, sometimes it might mean that when you're in those strategic discussions, you say, you know what, Joe, we're not going to do that. I'm sorry. I know that that's something that you've been wanting to focus on, but we don't have the ability, the scale to do all that stuff this year. We've got to focus, right? And one of the things that we're not going to do is this idea that you brought up. And I'm sorry about that, but here are the reasons why. And here are the things we are going to do, and here's how you can participate and contribute to those things. Now, people are terrified of doing that. So what they do is they ignore it, and they never really draw that line in the sand about the things they're not going to do because they're afraid of hurting other people's feelings. They're afraid of alienating people, right? And they're afraid of not being liked. you know, year after year, what those people find is that they don't make that much progress, right? They're not moving forward as much as they could be moving forward if they were able to be clear with people and be honest with people about, you know, these are the great things we want to go do, but these are also the things that we are not going to do under any circumstances. And they stick to those things. And at the end of the year, I can guarantee you, if you take on that approach, I can guarantee you at the end of the year, you will have achieved more of your strategic objectives than if you had not articulated the things you weren't going to do, the distractions you weren't going to have, right? And the proposals and the paper and the reactive stuff that you are not going to chase. All right? Thanks a lot, and see you soon.